So I'll start without just cutting. I see some people started joining. First, thank you for joining us on this Friday evening. I am in Boston and Anne is joining from California. And today we will talk about Anne's inspiring story on how she used Talkido in one of her students and achieved a great success. Before that, I will explain what Talkido is. I am Ege, and I am the co-founder and CEO of Talkido. And Talkido is a screen-free and portable language support system for people with speech and language disorders. So we have a little device that students can carry around, and we have blank cards that you can personalize, put your own recording, put your own images, and make your own recordings. And when students tap, I am happy. So they can get verbal prompts out of it. And what's even better, we have some stickers that you can put on a learning environment. This could be a classroom or a house. So you can put little stickers around a student's learning environment and program them. And when students tap again, I want water. So they can either use it to express their needs, learn new vocabulary, on anything exactly. It's like an open platform. Every creator can make their own activities according to the students' individualized needs. So we started Talkido inspired by my co-founder's cousin. He was a 3 years old boy with autism and he was nonverbal. And we were trying to find ways to make him motivated to language and communication. And we came up with this concept. It helped him a lot. He started to learn language, started to use words. And then we turned this into a company. And today we have more than 20,000 students all around the world using Talkido to leverage their communication skills. And we met Anne during our journey. Last summer, she contacted us and she started using it with one of her students with autism and visual impairments. And I was inspired by her story, and we are here today to share her story. But before going into that, Anne does a lot more than that. So, Anne, could you please explain us a little bit what your background is and what you're doing?
Absolutely. First, thank you so much for doing this with me. It's such an honor to be doing this with you. So my background is varied, but it all centers around the same kinds of things. So I've been a special education and disability resource lay advocate since 1991, helping individuals and their families navigate the bureaucracy of all the publicly funded services out there for folks with disabilities, mostly in special ed. And then in 2005, I became a paralegal in assisting attorneys prepare cases on behalf of these same individuals when they've had to actually litigate against the government or take some sort of administrative action in order to exercise their rights and get the services that the taxpayers have already paid for them to receive. And then in 2013, I went back and got my master's degree in educational psychology with specific emphasis on human development across the lifespan, the sciences of learning and memory, evidence-based instruction, and educational program design and evaluation. And so I'm not just looking at, the basic information. I'm really looking at the nuts and bolts of how a program has been put together for for an individualized program, whether it's working or not, and what to do to make improvements where possible. So that's my background.
Yeah, perfect. And we met last summer, and you explained us how you found Talkido, and I think that's an inspirational story. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So it started out with me trying to fabricate something on my own because I couldn't find a product. I mean, years ago, before Talkido, working with this same student because he's both vision impaired and he has autism and he has intellectual disabilities. And so I can't do any of the visual icon-based stuff that one would normally do with someone who's on the spectrum and has intellectual disabilities and communication impairments. And so I have to rely on those other modalities, which are his sense of touch and his sense of hearing. And so I have to come up with alternatives, but still use the same kind of strategy where it's icon based. And so what I did with this time around, how I found Talkido was I was doing a new program for him. And I went on to Amazon and I searched for the parts that I was going to have to buy to make the little homemade little push button things that talk for him that I had envisioned. And in my search results, the Talkido system came up. I'm like, wait a minute, what? and and then I started looking at the product and I went to the Talkido website. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is everything I've always needed. And this is so much better than what I've been doing. And so I immediately bought it and modified my program around using the Talkido product line to support what I'm doing with him.
And I know you created an amazing activity set with Talkido. But before going into that, could you explain us what was your expectation when you first see Talkido and imagined this system? What was your expectation from your students to learn with Talkido, and do you think he achieved those?
We're still working together, so this is a relatively new program, but he has responded to all of this immediately. He's engaged by it, and he is demonstrating learning behavior. So we're aware that he's acquiring knowledge from doing this. So what I'm working with him on right now is being able to explain what he's thinking and feeling. His just the way his autism manifests, that he uses a lot of scripted speech, and he remembers scripts more easily from music and things from videos, and you know, which is not that surprising. All of us who work with folks on the spectrum are familiar with that. And so he's much better off with music and learning new things that way, and learning scripted language if it's set to music. And so my strategy was to to create AI generated songs around these social scripts that have emotional vocabulary, social emotional vocabulary terms embedded in the songs, which are also the terms that I'm trying to teach him. So he's got happy and sad and mad in his repertoire, but that doesn't really capture everything he feels. And so trying to expand on his verbal vocabulary words for how he's feeling and being able to teach him those words, I had to be able to teach him what it means to have those feelings on the inside, and then give him sort of some sort of tactile icon that could represent a specific feeling, and then have him memorize what that tactile icon is, when what I really want him to do is use words verbally. I don't want him having to substitute using tactile icons instead of words. I want him to use the icons to learn the words and then verbalize what he's thinking and feeling. And so I've labeled the icons with Talkido tags. And then whenever he holds the device to it, it says it out loud, so that a person doesn't have to prompt him. He can independently figure out what each icon is if he can't remember, and then he'll associate it with the way that it feels, if that makes sense.
This is such an amazing way to use Talkido in a very personalized environment for a student. And if you have them with you, could you
Oh,
show?
I've got everything.
Oh, perfect. So could you show? So you said that you created a song, an AI generated song about feelings, and you made a pin with that to help the student.
Yeah, that's actually the pin that I made is a social script, like a self-calming script that he can listen to, that will talk him through, you know, calming himself back down. So I've done that. I've done it with the cookie jar of feelings, which has got all the different tactile icons inside of it, each of them tagged, so that when he's got the tag at the top that'll tell him what this is. But this is meant to represent him and the feelings he has on the inside. So, you know, having to be pretty literal with him to get the concept across.
Most of our students with autism, you have to be very literal. And I remember you choose that snowman because he was interested in that
Christmas.
concept.
Yeah,
Christmas
the holidays, anything to do with Christmas and the holidays. That's what he's really into. Some kids it's dinosaurs, other students it's volcanoes. For him, it's Christmas. And
could you show us how that works?
Absolutely. So inside the jar of feelings, and let me get my little Talkido Mio and turn it on. So inside the jar of feelings, I've got 4 different vocabulary terms that I'm teaching him. So this one is excited. This hard, dry sponge is irritated. The soft little pouch of cotton balls is calm. and this little bag of marbles is worried. And so the way that it works is all of these have Talkido tags on it, and he can just hold it up, and it says,
Wow.
so it helps him learn the name of the tactile icon and associate the verbal term with it, because the whole point is to build his verbal vocabulary. We're just doing this to give him something to manipulate and to help feed his thought process as we're going through it. So that's how we do the cookie jar of feelings. And then I have different exercises with him where I'm like, well, how are you feeling right now? Or how do you think this person is feeling? Because we'll also talk about other people's feelings as well and how they might be feeling inside. And then as far as the little button that I made, the thing about the Talkido stickers is that you can't put them on anything that's metal directly because it'll interfere with the microchip. So I had to put a big layer of stuff, glue and mostly, and a little decorative pipe cleaner around the back of this. But this is just like a little pin. I got like a bag of 50 for like, I don't know, $5 or something off of Amazon. And it's the exact same size as the Talkido sticker. And then I have it associated with the self-calming script. I have to do it. Here's what you can do if you're dealing with a difficult situation that's making you feel frustrated, irritated, worried, or mad. Stop and take a deep breath. I won't do the whole thing, it's long. Hold it in place.
We get the
But
picture.
yeah, but you get the idea that it's a script. And this is what we do is we pin this on his collar. And he likes to hold this up to his ear and listen to it like he's talking on the phone. So if he holds it up close to his collar when he's stressed out, he'll automatically trigger it. And then he'll sit here and listen to the self-calming script. And if he's not calmed down enough yet, then he'll go back and swipe it again and listen to it again. My thing is that he's starting to kind of perseverate on this. Like he likes that so much that he won't do anything else, and it's hard to get this thing back from him.
We don't want that, so we have to find out.
So I'm having to, I'm having to
Yeah.
use it judiciously. But
yeah.
the other thing that I wanted to show you, because I hadn't had a chance to do it yet, because the stickers are what does it for me, because I can customize anything. The songs, that the AI generated songs, I made a whole playlist for him. And one of the things that he doesn't have a lot in his life is choice. You know, that if he exercises a choice, usually somebody else has got to actually carry it out for him, because he's blind and he can't, he can't navigate environments very easily. But what I did was I created, and this is only some of them. I have 4 more songs to include, but this is his playlist as represented by the tactile icons that I've created. So, like this one right here, with the little van, if you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I have to hold it to the back. I need to be patient and learn of the people who take good care of me. They're not going to let anything that happens to me. So again, I'm not going to play the whole thing. You get the idea.
And how long are those recordings? Because
like a couple of minutes.
That's also a cool thing. You can either record very short things to teach exact words, or you can record longer things to create some routines or give guidance or something. And I really love the idea to, how you made it. You with the one song you showed us previously, you first give the instruction and then wait a little bit and then give the song. So I think that's a very creative way to use it.
Well, and I'm trying to teach him the lyrics of the song and have him sing along with them and learn the songs, because that's how he remembers things and he develops these new scripts. And so these songs include different concepts and different social stories and social scripts that we want him to internalize and start using that language to advocate for himself instead of using his behavior. Because what can happen is, especially if he's in transportation, if he's riding in the van back and forth between his group home and his day program, and he has a moment in the van and he gets upset, he's not able to tell anybody what it is that he's upset about, but he starts flipping out in the van, and that's dangerous. And so, we've got staff with him who are able to like calm him down before it turns into a dangerous situation. But that means he's now dependent upon a transportation aid to help him, be able to function. And so we want to be able to get him as independent as possible. And so this one particular song is about being safe in the van. But as you can see, the little tactile icon that I created is a little keychain shaped like a van.
Oh,
And then
wow.
I just glued it to a cardboard circle, and the way that I mount all these things on here is Gorilla Glue. This is
Yeah.
construction strength glue. And so that's how I stick all these things on here. But like this one is a perfect example that I had already made a whole bunch of songs for him, and his mom and dad said, you know what, we're wanting to be able to put him in the car when we go to visit and take him out for ice cream, and his favorite kind is sherbet, which he calls purple ice cream. But he's scared he's hesitant. He won't get in the car. He wants to go in the van because that's what's familiar.
Yeah.
And so now we're working on making him feel comfortable riding in the car with his parents instead of going in the van with staff. And so I'm like, okay, well, I guess we got to make a whole new song. And so I did a whole new song called Purple Ice Cream and tagged it, and now he can, play the song. And he has a limited number of songs he can choose from, but it's still giving him the ability to exercise choice, which he doesn't get a lot of. So that's naturally reinforcing in itself. But then that means he's going to be listening to the songs that I created that have all the social stories and social scripts and everything, the social emotional vocabulary terms that tie back to the Cookie Man jar of feelings. And so
could you explain us how did you teach to use Talkido to your students?
You know what? All I did was like, look, I got this thing. I started out with a jar of feelings. And so I hand over hand. So I had this in his hand and my hand over his. And then I was motoring it around to the different things. And then I would have different objects in his free hand, and then put this one on top of it so that it would make it play. And he was like, oh, wait a minute. He started grinning really big. And then for the self-calming script, that's when he would sit and listen to it like a phone. And so, but I also like the way that it's put together because I know that it's made for folks at different developmental levels all throughout the spectrum. And, like a toddler, he will mouth things.
Yeah.
And that's actually even more so the case now that he's lost his eyesight, because that's one more way to explore his environment that, he now that he can't see. And so this thing has ended up in his mouth a number of times. And he can't really do anything to it. It's not like it's going to hurt it or anything. And he's not trying to chew it or anything like that. He's just trying to feel it. And one of my colleagues who's also blind, who teaches independent living skills for folks with vision loss, said that that's one of the compensatory strategies they teach blind people, that your lips are more sensitive than your fingertips. And so if you're trying to figure out what something is and your fingertips are not giving you enough tactile feedback, that touching to your lips is a natural alternative. The problem is that if it's something that's gross and germy, you don't necessarily want to touch it to your lips. But for him, it's just trying to understand what it is and to, get a sense of what he's got in his hands and what he's working with.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and that's not that surprising, but yeah, it's been a really powerful tool for us so far.
The good thing for us that we created it child safe and very durable materials.
Yeah, no, it naturally lends itself for working with somebody who might do something like that.
Yeah. Another question: how did you how did you find to program the device? I see you created 3 different activities around it. And how long did it take you to create one activity? And can you explain that part also?
That was actually pretty quick. I mean, you guys gave me tech support when I got stuck and I couldn't figure some things out. And we had a glitch with the app that I needed an update before I could do things. But once all that got taken care of, it was pretty instantaneous. It was the instructions that come with it are pretty self-explanatory. And the only thing that I had to learn extra to do was importing the songs, which once you guys showed me how to do that, I was like, oh, well, that's easy. So it's super easy to do. And now it's like, okay, how many different things could I possibly tag? I need to order more tags.
Yeah, and I feel like once you start using it, you get in a perspective that you can create more and more, and it turns into an environment that
It
supports a student in many
does. And
different ways.
it sort of serves as like a linchpin of all these different things that are interconnected, that they all pass through the Talkido device in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the elements of the program that I'm doing, whether you're talking about the tactile icons and the labels on them, or the songs, which include the language that the tactile icons are trying to teach, with the social stories and everything, all of it's passing through the Talkido device, and it allows me to consolidate it down to one thing that I can give my guy. And he can, the goal is to get him as independent as possible, because if he can use the device to navigate all of these things and all these activities and all the different materials and whatnot, and he doesn't need me sitting there putting my hands on his hands and verbally prompting him through everything, if he can increase his functional independence this way, then this becomes a tool that we can use to teach him all kinds of other things. So we're not just, in the moment, we're trying to teach him this emotional vocabulary and to talk about his feelings instead of having behaviors. But if he, given how responsive he is to this, we're now looking at what are all the other things we could be working on him with using these same tools. And so now his group home staff and his day program staff, they're all inspired. They're like, oh my gosh, how could we use this? I'm like, yes, please. And so, they're going to carry over a lot of what I'm doing into their different settings so that he generalizes the concepts. It doesn't do any good to listen to a song about being safe in the van in a session with me if he's not also going to go to, to be able to do it in the actual van when he's riding around. And that goes to the autism, the struggle with generalizing from the teaching environment to the applied environment. Whereas now with his device and this music, he can take it on the road with him. And so, it's something that they can do in the van. He can listen to Being Safe in the Van song in the van where it matters, Yes. And the same thing with the Purple Ice Cream song in the car with his mom and dad. It starts out as something to prime or front load to prepare them for what's coming. But then it also can be something that orients them to what's happening in the moment. Because I know with him, he can forget what's going on. He can lose his train of thought. He's like, oh, I don't know where we are with all of this right now. Where do we stand? How much time do we still have before this thing that I expect? Are we still waiting for it? Is it about to happen? He'll lose. He has a really poor sense of temporality, and so waiting is difficult for him because he's not sure. And his mind will wander, and he'll forget what he was waiting for. And he's like, "Why are we here? What are we doing?" And so to have something that reorients him to the present. This is what we're doing right now. And you sing the song with him. And he's like, oh yeah, okay, that's what we're doing right now. And so it's useful both for it, priming him in advance, front loading him so he knows what to expect, as well as helping him maintain once you're actually doing the thing, so he remembers, okay, yeah, this is what we're doing, and we're still in the middle of this process. We're not done with it yet. And
it's a great example of that, and I really like and give a big importance to that independence part. So our main goal is always to make our students more independent, and how can they generalize those things that they learn with their educators in their daily lives. So do you see your student using Talkido on his own during his daily routine?
Not yet. He still needs a lot of prompting, but now he's at the point where he's familiar enough with it that when I'm like, hold it to the thing, he knows what that means. It's like I don't have to prompt him as much, and he understands what the prompt means. I'm not having to re-explain everything to him every single time now. So he's familiar enough with it to be able to follow a verbal prompt to comply without the hands-on part of it anymore. So we're getting there. He's making slow and steady progress.
It's good to hear. Yeah, it's always takes time. Like it's a journey, but it's good to hear that he can do it, and that's the goal.
Well, and I only meet with him once a month, and so now that I've got everybody else at the group home and the day program, now that they understand what I'm doing and they're going to be generalizing stuff into their settings, I expect him to start to blossom a little bit more and start, to really pick up momentum. And that's generally how he usually is. It's like when I do something new with him, it takes him a while to figure it out. But then once he's got it figured out, all the new stuff, it comes together pretty quickly. And then he doesn't need all of the accommodations anymore. I don't have to use an icon. He knows what the word means. So then we could extinguish all those icons and recycle all the bits and pieces. And that's another thing I like about the Talkido tags is if I actually record the wrong thing on one, I can erase it and record something new on it. So once I'm no longer going to use these tags for these purposes, I can recycle them and I can recycle them for some other thing, and I do the same thing with all the little tactile icons with him. I have a drawer full of dollhouse miniatures that I've used for teaching different things. So
yeah, it is a great way to reuse it. We designed these stickers and cards that you can change the recordings in them in a way. If a child or a student gets bored with something, you can change it, or either they learn it and you want to advance the language in it, then you can, for example, you started with a simple word and he's using it confidently, and then you can make it a sentence and you can expand the vocabulary step by step. And here, someone asked that if we are considering to reaching Shark Tank. Thank you for that question. Maybe we are thinking about that. We are very new in the US, and it's our first year actually. Anne is one of our best users, and we're finding ways to expand our impact. So maybe why not? So
that would be fun.
yeah. So back to your situation, your students. What do you have in mind for future? How do you position Talkido with other students, or do you have any suggestions for other educators who might benefit from Talkido?
Yeah, I think that what can be a struggle for a lot of folks is the training out there is go find something that's in a box with a brand name on it and it'll somehow magically solve all your problems. And that's not how you individualize anything. And what I like about Talkido is that it's a tool that can be adapted. It's not, I mean, you guys have your kits and your things and your starter kit, which is great for those people who that would be useful. But for like my guy, that wouldn't be where I would start with him. And so the ability to completely start out of the gate, completely individualized by using the stickers and the cards to be able to make your own custom stuff. You just got to think about, I mean, for me, I think the kids, obviously vision loss and having a screen-free solution makes sense there. But there's also a lot of kids who have vision, but they get overstimulated by all the visual icons on like an iPad with Proloquo Go or some other, augmentative communication app on there. And they'll stem on the icons and they won't use it to communicate. And I mean, that's certainly not everybody, but there's a handful of kids out there who you try to teach them that way of communicating. It is just not effective because it's too visually overstimulating for them. So having something that's screen free that can still give them the same access just by another means with audio labels, whether by themselves or paired with tactile icons as well. You can recreate anything that's done visually with the tactile icons and the audio labels if you're creative enough. And it really just comes down to what are you trying to make happen for your students? What are their goals? What are the outcomes they target? What are the accommodations they've already got in the IEP or the 504 plan or whatever it is that you're working with? And, and then are any of these tools going to make more sense than what I'm already doing? And so that really, I think there needs to be a lot of professional development with your AT and speech and language folks around using Talkido in those types of environments, because I think that there's a whole lot of opportunities and it's affordable. It's not the most expensive thing. It's not an iPad with a bunch of software loaded onto it. It's, to me, it's a far more affordable way to go. And it's more appropriate for those of our students who, a screen's not going to be helpful or, worst case scenario is actually going to cause a problem. So those are my thoughts in terms of that. I think that there's a lot of work that can be done around it and with those populations.
Yeah, and I think a lot of speech therapists and educators who work with children with speech like speech disorders and other special needs, I feel like they are very creative. They can you can create, like as you showed us, from a keychain you can create a playlist. Who could thought of that? So that's a very interesting way to use it. But we are here to provide more ways, more tools to make you more creative. And I think it's better when you have different tools for this, for different type of children, because sometimes they might benefit from one tool and sometimes the other tool works better. So it's always good to explore new ones. And I know that you are using different tools other than Talkido, and you use Talkido really well. And if you, I want to ask this: if any of our customers or users want to reach out to you on how to use Talkido or other things, do you give that type of guidance?
Yeah, absolutely. So in addition to working with families, sorry, my dog, working with families to help them navigate the bureaucracy of the system, knowing what to ask for means also knowing this underlying science. It's not enough to know the rules and regulations. You also need to know what the science says can be done to help these kids. And so, where I can also provide consulting services. I actually design custom programs for people and implement them, like I do for my student that I created all of this for. Compensatory education programs for kids who, if unfortunately they've had to go up against their school district and get some sort of remedy for not getting what they needed in the first place, that I can come in after the fact and provide that kind of programming as well to make up for what they should have gotten but didn't before, as well as talk about, okay, prospectively going forward, what do they also need just as a matter of normal day to day. And so I consult with, all kinds of IEP teams and 504 teams all day, every day, to help come up with appropriate individualized content. And I can certainly also help families do that on a consulting basis, or with also other professionals who are trying to troubleshoot, particularly students who are difficult to serve. And they're like, you know what, this is a unique student amongst unique students, and we're not really quite sure what to do. And so I will help troubleshoot situations like that as well.
Yeah, and I know this is a unique situation, but there are thousands of children who are facing the same situation and they're looking for solutions. And it's great to see the use of Talkido in such a unique problem, and to see how it inspires your student, and I'm sure that it can help many more students. And yeah, it was really nice to talking to you today. It was
You as well.
so
I have to
nice.
say, I've been sharing Talkido with my IEP teams. I've been telling people about it when I go to my meetings for my other students, because I know there's other kids on my caseload who would benefit from this as well. Mm-hmm. And so I know that there's been interest from the school teams that I've been talking with. They're like, wait a minute, what? So I know you guys are going to be getting a lot more attention as time goes on, just naturally because of what you're doing, because what you've created is so brilliant. So I appreciate what you guys do.
It's very inspiring. For as an industrial designer, it's like a dream come true to see my product in the good hands and making a really good impact on children's development. It's very nice to hear that from you. Thank you so much again.
Absolutely.
And I want to add this before closing. Anne wrote a very good detailed blog post about how she used Talkido, and she has very nice videos showing it on her website. You can reach that from her website, and we will also post her testimonial after this live session in our website also, and in our Instagram account as well.
Right on.
Also, if you want to get one Talkido set, you can get it from KPS4Parents website, from Amazon, or from our website. And you can always reach out to us if you have any questions. So these are everything I wanted to say. And do you have anything to add before we close?
No, it's just this has been so easy and such a joy to be able to just take this and run with it and not have to, stress myself out over it. And I would encourage anybody else who is looking at technology solutions and affordable solutions to be able to serve folks with these types of challenging needs. It doesn't have to be $1 million worth of stuff. You just have to be surgically precise and smart about what you're doing. And, and there's all these great tools out there, and this is certainly one of them.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. See you
Have a good
guys
day.
later.
Bye.
Bye.